people of these United States in order to form the perfect union. Establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility.
I went into the garage to grab out a very specific box because there were some documents. Actually, there's one piece of paper in particular that I wanted to use today and talk about because it really sets up the next 4 or 5 or 6 years. And when I opened the box, I was surprised to find some other things in here right on top at that. One of which was my name badge from the platform committee in 2012 in Green Bay. And then the other one was my name badge from the state convention for the Republican Party in 2012, where I was still under the delusion that political parties were going to solve this problem. And once I gave up that delusion, other opportunities, other ideas, and other avenues suddenly became available. And I was excited about those. I also found my separation agreement from Genworth Financial. And it's dated May 3rd, 2012. And I believe I had 30 days or so from there. And on my last day, I went to a concert that night and saw Roger Waters perform The Wall from front row seats in Minneapolis. And it's an apt metaphor for what I would do, which was to build a massive wall and start an incredibly large bubble. And that bubble that I would blow in my life and in my family's life was actually begun in that fall. And when I tell this story, I want to use this sheet of paper, which was actually taped to my wall in my office for many years. And I want to put it in perspective, and I want to put the next 4 or 5 years in perspective. Tom DeLonge said in an interview recently that there are 2 universes, and in the other universe, physics are opposite and time runs backwards. And that's an interesting thing to say, because if physics are opposite, it means that where everything here is physical, there, nothing is actually physical. And whereas here, everything seems linear and straightforward, there, everything is really happening all at once and there is no time. But then that brings into perspective the next question of what happens when we're born in reincarnation. I did a bunch of research on death, near death, and on reincarnation over a period. And what was interesting in the near-death experience was this notation that nearly all, most if not all, people report in near-death experience a full life review. And it's not in minor detail. It's in complete detail, in color, and quite memorable, which is to say they connect with what the whole thing is. And so it's important to look at this from this standpoint. When you die, you see the entire life that you just lived. And if there's another paradigm, if there's another universe, and physics in that universe are opposite, and time runs backwards, that means that in this universe, when we die, in that universe, we're born. And so that's the crossover between the two. And if in this lifetime, when we die, we can see the life we just lived, then that means that when we're born, we get to see the entire life we're about to live. And in much the same way we get to choose here, we get to choose there. That's the nature of free will. And so we choose the incarnation that we have, the purpose of which, as you will see in a moment, is experience, growth, and learning. There are 2 really incredible quotes by Eckhart Tolle that I like to use here. The first one starts like this. It goes, "Accept, then act." And when I first came across this idea, it was in 2017 when I had just read the Pele books, which said virtually the same thing, that we choose the life that we're about to have when we're born, that we are reincarnated into this world to have experiences and grow, to make this place like heaven on earth, if you will. That's me saying that, but like heaven on earth is to say that we transcend the material, which is the entire point of this and of the coming reincarnation paradigm shift. The quote goes on and it says, "Whatever the present moment contains, accept it as if you had chosen it. Always work with it, not against it. Make it your friend and your ally, not your enemy. This will miraculously transform your whole life." That single idea is beautiful because just as I built this wall and had discussions with my spouse over why I was doing all of this, I did, on October 21st, 2012, say, I made this happen. And yes, I made this happen. You know, we get a spark of this, if you will, a Kurt Vonnegut effect in The Matrix. And that's where the Oracle says to Neo, you've already made the choice. All that's left is to understand it. When we're born, we've made the choice to be here and to accept all of the coming experiences we are about to have. All of them. What's left is to understand. I like when that happens. It's the universe to me saying, that's a great way to put it, Bob. Life will give you whatever experience is most helpful for the evolution of your consciousness. How do you know this is the experience you need? Because this is the experience you are having at this moment. What Tolle has just identified here is that you have full agency over your life. And in that, if you understand why you've chosen what you've chosen, if you understand the outcome of those decisions, then they may have context for you to grow on. And that's where I was in 2012. I was about to create context for me in 2017. And I wouldn't understand that context until then. But I want to begin by phrasing this entire next few years with the idea, I made this happen. And I made this happen from the very beginning. There are forces that work. And those forces I would discover while I was researching a book I would begin writing very shortly. That book was called My Collapse. And while I thought that that book was going to be about my collapse experience of the economy, it was about my collapse of the bubble I was blowing. Collapse, by the way, it's still in progress. Thank you very much for being here today, and I'll chat at you next week with some more stuff.
We the people of these United States, in order to form the perfect union, establish justice,
ensure domestic tranquility,
provide for the common defense,